Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions here to talk about The X-Files, Season 1, Episode 17, titled EBE. The episode's description reads as follows. Mulder and Scully become the focus of a disinformation campaign when they attempt to trace the government secret transport to an alien life form. The episode was written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. The episode was directed by William Graham. This is his second stint on the series. He will return to direct a fifth season episode. The episode originally aired on February 18th, 1994. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out and then come back and give me a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to my channel. Well, this is a home run for the series and for the pair of writers, James Wong and Glenn Morgan. After a couple of duds, we are back on track, which includes the introduction of the Lone Gunman. Internet Movie Database says the inspiration for the Lone Gunman came from a group of men that writers Glenn Morgan and Marilyn Osborne met at a UFO convention in June 1993. Some of the scenes were inspired by photographs sent to the writers by location scouts of a BC hydro power station, which was used as a shooting location. This is probably the best use of Deep Throat outside of his debut appearance, and we only get one more episode from him when, spoiler alert, he will not live through that last episode in the finale. We start this episode off with an Iraqi pilot encountering a UFO. The pilot is attacked and then shoots down the mysterious craft. And then it lands somewhere, not quite sure where, but some personnel happens to spot the crash. They go and investigate, and credits. When we come back, we are with a truck driver named Ranheim, though of course we don't know that quite yet, but that is his name, whose radio goes haywire. His truck loses power, he hears noises, he sees a ship, he fires off a few rounds, and then we cut away. Ranheim is played by Peter LaCroix, who would also appear in the episode Ascension and Unrequited. Mulder and Scully investigate. Scully is trying to give the rational explanation, blaming it on lightning, etc., etc. Meanwhile, Mulder does his UFO testing thing that we saw him do in the pilot, and everything points in the direction of a UFO encounter, at least according to Mulder. They go and talk to Ranheim, who doesn't really want to talk to them or be held here, and he tells them a bunch of things. In fact, he has a cough that he says started with the UFO encounter. The interview is cut short by local law enforcement, who doesn't wish to cooperate any further with their investigation, and they are told to just go away. Well, gee whiz, isn't that professional of them? Mulder tells Scully that he thinks Ranheim's cough was caused by UFOs. Mulder says when they get back to Washington, he's going to talk to the Lone Gunman, a watchdog group that happened to publish a magazine of the same name. And in the very next scene, we are actually meeting them. There's a straight-laced one. Byers is played by Bruce Harwood, 51 credits for him, 37 appearances for him on the series, and he was in the first X-Men X-Files movie. Langley is played by Dean Haglund, 40 acting credits for him, same amount of appearances on the series as Bruce Harwood, and he showed up in an early episode of Sliders, which is an episode I will probably cover at some point with my partner Stacy when we cover Sliders. Internet Movie Database says, as per Dean Haglund, who plays Langley, his glasses are different for the first several appearances of the Lone Gunman, as the wardrobe partner wasn't sure if the character would return. Therefore, they probably lost the original prop. Rohickey is played by Tom Braidwood. He has 40 appearances on the series. Internet Movie Database says the casting of Tom Braidwood as Rohickey was absolutely casual. He is an assistant director. When they were looking for Rohickey, nobody found the perfect one. Somebody said something like, we need someone repulsive and with the appearance of Braidwood, and so he was cast in the role. I'm sure that wasn't offensive at all. Braidwood would work on the series for 57 episodes as the assistant director, and I believe he was also credited in the I Want to Believe movie as an assistant director. All three would reprise their roles for their own series, titled, originally of course, The Lone Gunman. This is a fun scene, and of course Scully doesn't think very much of them. Frohickey calls Scully hot twice. Langley claims to have had lunch with the person who killed JFK. And was this Cancer Man? Because otherwise, you absolutely did not have lunch with the person who killed JFK. Byers laughs at one of Mulder's ideas, saying that that's the reason they like him, because his ideas are weirder than theirs. Scully later in the office says that the lone gunmen are the most paranoid people that she's ever met. Really? Because I'm pretty sure that you're sitting next to Mulder, who has to be right up there. She wonders how Mulder could buy into anything they have to say, and Mulder points out that Frohickey said that she was hot twice, and he might conceivably buy into that. He doesn't say that in so many words, but he thinks it's certainly possible that someone might consider her hot. As she continues to talk, she soon realizes that her pen is bugged. Mulder sets up the Deep Throat signal. Hopefully he doesn't get it mixed up with the Batman signal, because that would be really embarrassing. Basically, his lights are off, and a lamp is pointed at the window. This will also be used next season with Mr. X, but with an X on the window. Deep Throat calls, and then Deep Throat joins Mulder in the park somewhere. He's talking about a baseball game and how they should catch a game sometime. But of course, they wouldn't be able to sit together, which kind of defeats the point of going to a baseball game in the first place. A photographer takes a picture of something, and there's a flash, and Deep Throat winces. And Mulder says, hey, it's just a tourist, but in Deep Throat's line of work, nothing is just anything. Mulder asks questions, but Deep Throat is reluctant to tell him. Deep Throat gives him a file, and Mulder asks him what he's onto. Deep Throat replies, a very dangerous path. Mulder reads the file, which is the incident we saw at the beginning of the episode. Scully comes in and saying that Ranheim lied about everything he said. Mulder goes on to report on what he knows. Scully wonders where he got this info, and she wants to know more about Deep Throat. She thinks his motives are suspect. And you would think that Mulder, himself being the paranoid guy that he is, would also think this. It's curious that a man with his beliefs would also be pretty naive at times at the same time. Scully says that Mulder is the only one she trusts. She tells him that the truck is heading west. Mulder says he's going to go home, get some things, and then they will get on the chase for the truck. Deep Throat is waiting for Mulder in the dark. He hands him pictures of UFOs, and Mulder asks him more questions, but those answers will not be forthcoming. As Deep Throat leaves, Mulder thanks him for helping him with his work and never asking for anything in return, while also putting his life in danger at the same time. At Scully's apartment, she examines the photos, and Mulder thinks they need to go to Georgia, but she determines it's a fake, which just pisses Mulder off. But she tells him that she has never met anyone with as much passion as he has. She admires it, but there are others that would take advantage of it and use it against him. He leaves without comment, and he's still very clearly mad. But the next morning, in the office, Mulder analyzed the pictures with the equipment that he has at the office, and it turns out Scully was right. Deep Throat lied to them. They are on their own. Mulder meets Deep Throat at an aquarium, which is a beautifully shot scene, by the way. It's very interesting visually. And he wants to know why he lied to him. He thought Deep Throat was an ally. Deep Throat is impressed that Mulder figured out that the picture was fake and says that he puts his life on the line every time they speak. He spent years watching from his position of power to know Mulder was the one he could trust. Mulder asks him, well then why'd you lie to me? Deep Throat says he needed to divert them off of this course. He thinks there are some secrets that the people are just not ready to know. That seems contradictory. If you believe that, then why are you helping Mulder in the first place? It seems like he wants Mulder to expose the secrets while keeping the secrets secret. Yeah, I'm confused about his motivations here, and the ending of this episode doesn't exactly clarify that. Mulder ends up throwing all the government misdeeds that they have ever committed at him and asks, when will it end? He answers his own question and says he supposes it won't as long as men like Deep Throat decide what is the truth and who gets to hear it. The transcript was real, and Mulder wonders why he even bothered to show it to him in the first place. Deep Throat answers that he knew he would have to lie to them eventually, and a lie is most convincing sandwich between two truths. Mulder is prepared to leave, and Deep Throat says that if a shark stops swimming, it will die. So don't stop swimming. You know, it's funny because I got that same advice from Finding Nemo. Deep Throat tells him he isn't responsible for the electronic surveillance, but he knows that they can still hear him. In response to this, Mulder tears apart his apartment and finds a bug in his electrical outlet. Scully knocks, and Mulder gives her some BS, telling her to shush, and says out loud that maybe they should just give up. Mulder writes a note and says they have to find a truck, and Scully ends up agreeing. Mulder and Scully play some games to avoid their tails. Scully found out he's heading to visit Seattle, and I'm wondering, can I tag along for this? You know, my mom lives up there, and I would certainly love to visit. They manage to catch up to the truck and begin to follow. I'm actually kind of curious how they managed this one, because that truck had a pretty big head start on them. They are just talented, I guess. They see a flash, the driver is now missing, and anything interesting that might have been on the truck is now missing. Mulder thinks this is an intergalactic rescue mission, but Mulder investigates and realizes they have been deceived once again. After drawing up a map, they realize the sightings are following the truck to get their colleague back. They end up at a party, which points out that the UFO activity occurs down by a power plant. But this isn't a power plant. They end up spying on what's going on down there, and they happen to see Ranheim. They call Langley, who gives them fake passes to break in. They manage to get in, but then they're stopped by a guard played by Roger Cross. Roger Cross is no stranger to the genre, having played a significant role in another favorite sci-fi show of mine, Continuum. He has 166 credits, including 5 on this series, which includes 1 in the revival. Mulder makes a break for it, hurts himself on the run, men with guns go after him, he almost gets to his intended target, which he thinks is hiding an alien, and the men with guns are gaining on him, but Deep Throat calls them off and says they have done well, and to let Mulder go. There's just one small little issue here. Later on in the series, we will find out that there's a whole syndicate, and that Cancer Man reports to them, and so on and so forth. So, Deep Throat has to answer to someone, and I'm sure they heard of this little incident with Mulder. So I'm mildly curious with how they reacted to Deep Throat just letting Mulder go. I wouldn't have been too surprised if they just killed him after the course of this episode. But nope, his death is coming at a later time. Deep Throat tells Mulder that he knows how badly he wants to look behind that glass, but it would be pointless, it's dead. Mulder tells him that after Roswell, there was an ultra-secret conference that included all the governments, that it was agreed that any nation that ended up with an EBE, that nation was responsible for its extermination. Deep Throat was one of 3 men to have to do so, and the innocent blank expression on his face as Deep Throat pulled the trigger has haunted him ever since, which is why he came to Mulder. The scene is depicted in musings of a cigarette-smoking man, but it's very different than the story that was told here. I don't think Deep Throat was actually part of the CIA in that scene that we saw. So either Deep Throat doesn't fully tell the story right here, it's another lie, or at least a partial one, or what we see in musings that episode is a lie, or perhaps the creators screwed up. And you know what? I want to be generous to them here. I don't think it was actually a screw up. Mulder is let out by Deep Throat. He says that Mulder is awfully quiet. Mulder says he's trying to decide which lie to believe, and Deep Throat laughs. Out the door comes Scully, and they watch as Deep Throat walks off into the fog. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. A great episode for Season 1. This episode here represents the best of what The X-Files is. It's a paranoid thriller with excellent acting. There's great scene after great scene, best use of Deep Throat, the introduction to the lone gunman. This episode is just great. Hell, definitely up there with one of the best of the entire series. We got 7 episodes left, 3 of which are guaranteed to be good. The rest, well, I'm going to have to see upon rewatch. Anyway, that's all I got for you for this video. If you want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy, which is a new way to support content creators such as myself. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Core Productions, signing off.